Hey guys, and welcome on into week eight, CFL week eight picks and predictions. I'm Terry, Nick above me, TK beside him, and we are ready to break down the week eight slate. We are going to change things up a little bit here, adding in a new segment to start off the show, and we will jump right into it here. And that's power rankings. We are going to do power rankings each show and just ranking our teams quickly. We don't have to go into a super long explanation. I will start. I'm going to jump kind of all over the place. So bear with me. And I'm going to start at the bottom first. My number ninth team is the Edmonton Elks. They are 0-7 here. And I apologize. I just realized that I made a mistake here. Live show. 1 second here. I just realized that I made a mistake. Bear
We'll
with
do it
me.
live. We'll do it live.
Yeah, we are live, but we are good to go now. My last ranked team here is the Edmonton Elks, 0-7. I don't really think I need to explain that too much. They are by far the worst team in the CFL. Jumping up to number one for me is the Toronto Argonauts, currently 5-0. Um, the only undefeated team so far in the CFL. For me, the best offense in the CFL. That's why I'm putting them here in first, slightly ahead of my number two team, which is the BC Lions at 5-1. They are the best defensive team in the CFL for me, but they fit here in this second spot. Next up, we have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at number three. And Winnipeg has been a top team for quite a few years now, but I have them firmly in this third spot. So the top two are kind of by themselves there. Winnipeg is kind of in their own little spot here at number three. Still a very, very good offensive team, but for me, their defense has taken a big step back this year. So that's why I have them here in third. In fourth, I do have the Ottawa Red Blacks at 3-3. I'm very high on this Red Blacks team over the last couple of weeks. I'm a huge believer in Dustin Cum. We'll get to that here shortly. So I have Ottawa at number four, and this is where it gets tricky. These next four teams for me are so close that it's incredibly hard for me to pick four. Um, I'm going to put Montreal at number five here. Um, I think this could easily change after this week. I think this I could easily see Montreal falling down. I think these number five to number eight I can see kind of jumbling each week. I'm going to put Montreal at number five. At number six, Saskatchewan. Yes, they are heavily injured, but from what they've done so far in the season, I think they deserve to be number six. Number seven, I'm going to go with the Calgary Stampeders at 2-4. Again, this could definitely change this week. And number eight, I do have to go with my hometown Hamilton Tiger Cats here in the eighth spot at 2-4. For me, their defense is a big reason why. Now, Calgary's defense was absolutely horrible last week as well, but defensively, that puts them in the number eighth spot for me. Next up, we are going to go to TK here, and let's hear your power rankings. You can go from whatever if you want to go from 8-1 or 9-1, 1-9. You want to jumble around. It's totally up to you. But what do you think here for your power rankings?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question of who's last. I mean, you just put Edmonton there. I'm not even going to talk about them. They're just they're just ridiculously bad. So Edmonton, I've got last. One, two, and three are pretty much the same. I've got Toronto as number one. Um, they're the best offensive team in the league, and they show that week in and week out. Um, I've got BC second. Um, I agree with you that they've, in my opinion, got the best defense in the league. And the offense is coming around, but it's just not there yet. But I think that they are holding their own in second place. Third, I'm going to go with the Bombers. They're still a good team, in my opinion, but there's some things that I'm starting to notice with them uh, each week, is particularly on the offensive line, that compared to the previous seasons, it seems like they've got some trouble protecting Caleros back there. So I'm a little concerned with them as far as sliding down a little bit further, but they're still a good team. They still got some good pieces on offense there. So I'll put them in third. Um, Fourth, I mean, I think you got to put Ottawa there. I've got Ottawa as four. I thought that they were a somewhat decent team coming in when Masoli was there, and you look at Masoli with him coming in, and I think they had the wrong quarterback starting to be at the beginning of the season by going with Arbuckle, and I think that they've somewhat figured that out. But you look at Masoli, you look at Tyree Adams, and you look at Dustin Crum. Those are three good quarterbacks that have come in and got the job done, and they're looking pretty good. Their defense has, in my opinion, held their own since the start of the season, and I think that's the focal point there. So I'll put them at four. Um, Five, they've got a ton of injuries, but I still somewhat like them a little bit. So I'll go with the riders there. I'll put them at five. Um, Montreal, I've got at six. I think that they've got issues protecting the quarterback as well. Um, so I'll put them at six. They're coming off the bye, so I really want to see how they respond to that. Um, and then seven and eight, I've got Calgary at seven, and I've got Hamilton at eight. Calgary. I just, Jake Mayer is a problem. There's times when he shows up and he does really well, and there's times that he stinks. And I think we saw that the last game. And then Hamilton, um, they've got to do something in the run game, on defense to fix that. They're getting gashed almost, on a weekly basis, with the run. So they've got their own struggles there, plus the quarterback issue. We'll see what happens. I saw that Bo Levi Mitchell's back at practice, so I'm not sure if he's going to start this week. So I want to see if they're able to get that quarterback situation figured out, to see some kind of improvement. But that's kind of what I've seen thus far to be able to come up with my power rankings this point and going into week 8.
Awesome. And next we'll go to Nick. Nick,
Yep.
What do you think?
Yeah, this one it was tricky. 4 through 7, you can mix and match the way you want to. I'll start from the bottom, work my way up. I got the Elks at 9. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. I thought this team was going to be better heading into the year. I truly did. I'm waiting for them to put Ford in at quarterback, so I can maybe back them there. I know you guys are probably a little higher on this team. I'm not. I haven't been since day one. I have the Riders at 8, and I know they're banged up with injuries right now, but I don't think they're a very good team. Their defense struggles to put pressure on quarterbacks. They did last week against BC, which was kind of concerning with that offensive line for BC. But I'm not high on them, and I think there'll be value on fading them going forward. When you looked at their what they've done this year, 2 of their 3 wins were against Edmonton by a combined 5 points. That doesn't impress me much. And their other win was an overtime game where they blew a 10-point lead and then headed into overtime against Calgary. At 7, I got the Alouettes. This is another team I'm not particularly high on. Now, obviously, 4 through 7, you can mix and match them however you feel. These are 4 teams that will be bouncing back and forth between 4 and 7 for the next few weeks until someone figures it out, because I think there is a pretty significant gap between 3 and 4. At 6, I have the Ticats. I think that they're going to get better going forward, and they're getting healthier. They were dealing with injuries. keep in mind I know I put the Saskatchewan Roughriders down because this is a Ticats team that offensively was dealing with injuries. They're on their third quarterback right now. I do think once Bo Levi Mitchell gets healthier, this will be a better Ticats team that I think could potentially be the number 2 team in the East. At number 5, I got Ottawa. 2 weeks does not move you up super far up my list. I had them around 8 2 weeks ago before the game against before Winnipeg against Winnipeg. So I do think this team is on the rise. We'll see with the way the market's reacted to this team. We'll get into that with the first game. I have the Stamps at 4. I think potentially they have one of the better offenses in the CFL once that offense starts to click. We've seen it the last couple weeks. They put up 41 points last week, and I forgot how many points they put up the week before. I think 33 against Saskatchewan. I do think that the Stamps are a team going forward that I'm kind of interested in backing. There's a pretty significant between 3 and 4, though. Bombers, I have at 3. And this is going to be very interesting for them. They're heading into the bye this week, and next week they get the BC Lions. I think it's a great spot for them next week. That's already something I'm looking at betting next week is the Bombers at home against the Lions. I do have the Lions at 2. Pretty simple. They beat the Bombers, and the number 1 team is undefeated, which is the Argos. The Argos, I think, are the obvious number 1. But the BC Lions, big question mark with them is who they have quarterback going forward. Is Vernon Adams going to be playing this week? Is it going to be Dean Evans? I think either works. I think long-term for playoff experience, I would prefer Evans over Adams. I'm probably unpopular opinion on that one, but we've seen Evans take a team to a Grey Cup. But this Argos team, I think the CFL and at least the Eastern Division runs through them at the moment. The defending champs, and we'll get to it when we break down their game against the Riders this week. It's death taxes and the Argos scoring 30-plus points this year so far. So this is definitely a team that I have no interest in jumping in front of.
All right. That concludes the power rankings part of the show. Next, we will jump into, and yes, we're gone, but we're still here. We will jump into the first game, and that is the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Ottawa Red Blacks. You can get Hamilton currently anywhere from plus 150 to plus 160 on the money line. Ottawa minus 175 to minus 193 on the money line. The spread 3.5 pretty much everywhere. Bet99 has 4.5. When it comes to the total, 48.5s and 49s are out there in this game. And I'll start with this one. As I said in my breakdown of my power rankings, I'm pretty high in this Ottawa team right now. Dustin Crum, I'm not comparing them, the quarterbacks themselves, but Dustin Crum is reminding me a lot of Nathan Rourke from last year. He just has that something about him that he just has that it factor. That's the only way I can kind of describe it. I thought he was going to run the ball for most of the game against Calgary, but that's not what he did. He showed that he's not a one-trick pony. He's got an arm. He can throw the ball as well. And Ottawa, I cashed with them plus 5.5 and on the money line as well. Now they're returning home here to face Hamilton. Powell will be starting his second game here. Hamilton did beat Ottawa a few weeks ago. Crum came in when Masoli got hurt during that game. Wasn't obviously expecting to start. Schultz was the quarterback for Hamilton. Ottawa was very close to getting a potential game-tying touchdown, but just ran out of time at the end of that game. Now Crum is ready. Obviously going through his first 2 games, back-to-back wins. As an underdog, now he's coming home to be a favorite. And Hamilton has owned Ottawa. Hamilton has won the last 8 meetings between the teams. But these teams are very different. These teams are very different from previous seasons, and they're very different from just a couple weeks ago in this spot here. What I think about this game, Ottawa has a very good run defense. They're going to force Powell to throw the ball. And as we saw last week against Calgary, when Jake Meyer threw the ball, he got some touchdowns. He got some nice long play touchdowns, but he also got some interceptions. I think we're going to see the similar type of game here. I think this is a high scoring game. I'm on the over 48.5. I'm on Ottawa team total over 26.5. As they've shown the last two games, they have an offense now with Dustin Crum. Hamilton's defense, one of the worst defenses in the league so far this year. And I did lay the points, Ottawa -3.5. I think they get a touchdown victory in this game. No, it's not going to be a blowout. I do expect it to be back and forth. But this Ottawa team is one to watch out for, I think, right now. And I'm going to back them here. I think they cover the spread and have a big win here against the Ticats. We'll go to Nick next. Nick, what do you think here? Ticats and Red Blacks.
I have a feeling I'm going to be very unpopular this week. I've seen a ton of people. I don't think I've seen one person yet on these Ticats. I took a shot at the Ticats here. And what we saw with this line is it opened up at 5 and it immediately went down to a 3.5. The market realizes that maybe they may have over-adjusted a little bit with these Ottawa Red Blacks. Because I thought I was dying to jump on that 5. Unfortunately, BetOnline likes to open up lines for CFL about 18 years after DK does. So I had no access to that 5 unless I'd be sitting out with a 5 right now. I like anything over a field goal with Hamilton here, and I sprinkled a little bit on the money line as well. You mentioned that the run defense is going to cause the Hamilton Tiger Cats to throw the ball more. That's their offense. The Ticats don't run the football. Like, that's something we've picked up on, is that they are the worst team running the football this year because they just simply refuse to do it, it feels like. They average around 82 yards a game on the ground. So I think that actually plays perfectly into Hamilton's offense. Is Ottawa is good against the run, and they're not good against the pass. This is a Ottawa Red Blacks defense that gives up 217.2 passing yards. Or no, that's their offense, my bad, which is last. Their defense is also last year, 311 passing yards against this season, which is dead last. I think the Ticats are going to be able to throw the ball here against this Ottawa Red Blacks offense. I like the over as well because I see a lot of passing in this game. One thing I did notice with the Red Blacks last week, they did put up a lot of points. Calgary's defense did not look great, but it also doesn't help when three of the, at least three of the Ottawa touchdowns, they started on their own side of the field after turnovers, and one of them was a pick 6. So I could see maybe Ottawa's defense helping out this over a little bit with a turnover touchdown, a defensive touchdown. But when we looked at this offense, it looked good because they put up a lot of points. They didn't really get many yards because they didn't have to, because the turnovers led them starting at like the Calgary 50. Like they would be able to start at midfield and all that because the turnovers. So I don't know if we see as many turnovers this week with the Ticats here. Also, one last point here that I've seen with this game is this is a massive rest advantage and spot advantage, travel advantage with the Ticats. Even though the Ticats are heading to Ottawa here, they played on, I want to say, the Ticats played on Saturday. I want to say Friday or Saturday. And the Ottawa Red Blacks played in Calgary on Sunday. So they get a couple days less advantage of being able to prepare for this matchup. And they get a short week here. They played on Sunday, and now they get the first game of week 8 week 8. I think this is just a massive disadvantage for the Red Blacks here. I think the Ticats win this game outright. So I grabbed the points, sprinkled the money line, and I also like that over 8.5, 48.5 as well. I do think we see a lot of passing in this matchup, and we see a Ticat victory here in this spot, because I understand back in the Red Blacks as dogs. I know people have done that the last few weeks. When you turn this team, which I think is average right now at best, and try to lay points with them, I'll take a shot at the dog here. I'm on the Ticats.
All right. Yes, me and Nick definitely do disagree a lot. So when you said you were going to be unpopular, no, I'm just kidding. But one thing I did want to mention there with that, one of the big reasons why I am laying the points with Ottawa is, and like you said, with Hamilton's offense, is throwing the ball. Ottawa showed not just last week against Calgary, but against Winnipeg as well, that if you turn over the ball, Ottawa is going to make you pay. They have the offense to make you pay. So I think that really helps the over. And I think Ottawa does cover the spread, in my opinion. But TK, Tiger Cats, Ottawa Red Blacks. What do you think in this game?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna beat a dead horse here when it comes to the Ticats in regards to their defense. They're one of the worst in the league, especially in regards to their away defense. They're last in the league in overall points allowed. They're last in the league as far as their pass defense, and they're second to last as far as their rush defense. So that's a concern there. I think for the past couple of games of what we've seen out of Crum and their offense for Ottawa, they're on the uptick. I mentioned it last week, and I'll mention it again as far as the Red Blacks defense that carries that team. So for me, I think it's just a simple deal. I'm going with Ottawa -3.5, and I'm going to take the under as well. I think that the Red Blacks defense definitely shows up, and I don't know who's going to be at quarterback for Hamilton. It could be Powell. I heard Bo Levi Mitchell's back to practice, so there's that speculation. But even if Mitchell does end up playing, which I don't think, but if he does end up playing, how long will he be able to go? So I'm a little concerned there to back Hamilton. I'm going to go with the team that's on a little bit of a win streak, and even though it's taken OT to get it done, 2 weeks in a row, they're getting the job done. So I think it's enough for them to at least win by 5 or more.
All right. We'll move on along to our next game here, and bring up the odds. We have we have the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Toronto Argonauts, and this is a neutral field game. So this game will be played in Halifax. I hope one day, recording these shows, that Halifax gets a team. I think it makes total sense to add that 10th team, that 5th team in the East, and give Halifax a CFL team. So hopefully that happens one day. This is a big step to getting there. Is playing these games. This game is sold out, so it'll be a great game when it comes to having fans there. The spread here, Saskatchewan, you can get anywhere from plus 406 to plus 360 on the money line. Toronto -490 to -5, 556. 10.5s at most spots, 110 at Pinnacle, 47.5s everywhere. So everywhere agrees here on the total in this game. And we will get to the comments here that I forgot to bring up. David Talk says love the show. Thanks, much appreciated. CFL, yes, CFL deserves its own show. And Real Deal Prime lives in Atlantic Canada, so I'm sure you'd like to see Halifax get a team if you're close enough. But Rough Riders, Argonauts in this game. Saskatchewan coming off that 10-point loss to BC, and Saskatchewan surprised me. I didn't really think they would hang around in that game as well as they did. I kind of did think that it was going to be a bigger victory for BC. Obviously, losing Vernon Adams Jr. in the first quarter hugely affects your offense. But Saskatchewan somewhat able to hold their own here, and they've had a very favorable schedule so far. They've faced Winnipeg once, BC once, and this is their first time facing the Toronto Argonauts. And when Saskatchewan faced a good team in Winnipeg, they lost 45-27 in week 2. Now they're facing this Rough Riders team who's still beat up here. And I think this is a rout. Toronto's covered -10.5 in 4 of their 5 wins. Only the win against Montreal, which was an 8-point win, was the only game they didn't win by at least 12 points. Saskatchewan's averaging 20.83 points per game. Toronto's averaging 37. So a 17-point difference in offense. In defense, Toronto's averaging 22.2, Saskatchewan 24.5. So Toronto's got an advantage at defense as well. 3 of the last 4 meetings between the teams have gone over 8.5. Both these teams have been trending towards the over as well. This game being played in Halifax is something to keep in mind, with no team truly having home field advantage here. But I like Toronto to cover spread in this one. And like Nick said about taxes and death, over 28.5 for Toronto on the team total, minus 115. I locked that in as well. Just they've done it every game. So sometimes there are those bets that are kind of an auto bet until things change. But just facing Saskatchewan as well makes it a play for me. Nick, we'll go to you next in this one. Saskatchewan and Toronto.
Yeah, 100% agree on this one. Death taxes and the Argos putting up at least 30 points. It's just the way it's been. They are 5-0 straight up. They are 5-0 ATS. I've been on them the last few weeks, and I see no stopping now. I was on them against BC. I was on them against Montreal. I was on them against the Ticats, and I'll be on them here against the Riders. The Riders, I think, are a team that I'm looking to bet against most of the season. They're still banged up with injuries, and now they're on their backup quarterback with Mason Fine, which looked not great. Granted, he faced a really good BC defense, but they failed to put up a touchdown last week, losing 19-9. Frustrating only getting a push on that game, but it is what it is. This is an Argos team that is just unstoppable offensively. 31 points, 35 points, 45 points, 43 points, 32 points. They're the best offense in the league. This is a team that Chad Kelly's just formulated into an amazing CFL quarterback. Pretty plain and simple here. He's just turned into something special. And this Argos team, you can see it. Number 1 in total yards, number 2 in passing yards, number 1 in rushing yards, number 1 in points scored, number 1 in turnovers. They have actually, looks like, yet to turn over the ball on offense this year. That's incredible right there. And their defense is number 1 on creating turnovers. So that's why this team is so good. And this is why they're the Grey Cup favorite right now, is this is the best team in the CFL. I laid the 10.5 points. I hate laying chalk like that. I hate laying this many amount of points, but I did. I laid 10.5 with the Argos here in this spot. And I got the team total over at 29.5, 28.5. Forgot what the exact number is for that one. And I got the full game over as well. I got the over 29.5 minus 120 and over 47.5 at minus 110 for the full game. I expect another performance where we see 30 plus points from the Argos. And until proven otherwise, it's the way I'm just going to go with these games.
All right. TK, Saskatchewan, Toronto, the game happening in Halifax. What do you think in this one?
Yeah, neutral site. So I think you got to throw out, stats as far as who's good, home, away, or all that kind of stuff there. Just kind of going back to the Riders game against BC, Mason Fine did okay for that game. He did okay. Of course, he turned the ball over, but for the most part, I think that was in the second half. He did pretty well. He threw for 284. He did move the ball. I know he didn't score a touchdown or anything, but they had chances. He got him down in the field goal range, so he was effective as far as moving the ball, in my opinion, a bit against the best defense in the league on the road. So I'll add that in there. Of course, we know with the Argos, they're the best team in the league. I guess if you want to say that there's one concern that they have, it would be, in my opinion, on special teams. And I think that's where Saskatchewan shines. We know about Mario Alford. We know that he's a game changer, that if the ball gets in his hands, he knows how to make plays. And that's kind of where I see this game going. I think that he can show up to be able to make those plays, to help out the offense, to help out the young quarterback in Mason Fine. And I think that Mason Fine's got enough confidence under himself to know that he can compete in this league. He can get the job done. And I think he's going to start putting up some points in this game. So I think for a neutral site game, to me, I thought that 10 was just a little bit too much, considering those factors there. So I'm going to take Saskatchewan plus 10. And I'm going to take a shot on the money line as well. I know that the injuries are there for them, but they've found some ways to somewhat be effective as far as with the players that they have. So that's one thing that I have noticed. Of course, I know that Chad Kelly is definitely not Taylor Cornelius at all. But when I look at how Saskatchewan has played a dual threat quarterback or a running quarterback, the past 2 times that they played Cornelius this year kind of kept him at bay to a certain extent. So I think that they're going to have some type of game plan to try to mitigate him running and just make him a pure passing quarterback. I like Nick Marshall. I like some of the guys that they have in their secondary for Sasky. So I'm willing to take the shot. In a neutral site game here and go with Sasky to win it.
All right, big dog upset. We do usually see a dog winning. Obviously, last week it was Ottawa, but we usually do see that one dog that wins. So, hey, if you just called Toronto's first loss this season, that would be a big call. But we'll move on along to the next game, and this one I don't think we're going to have a lot of disagreement, but you never know. We'll see, and we'll start with this game here: BC and Edmonton. You can get the BC Lions anywhere from minus 390 to minus 420. Edmonton plus 300 to plus 327 on the money line. Minus 8s, minus 8.5s, minus 9s. When it comes to the spread, 43s and 43.5s when it comes to the total here in this game. And last week, I had BC minus 8.5. Of course, I got that early on in the week. When we did the show, it was at BC minus 10, of course, which pushed. And then if you bet it the day of, I believe it was minus 11 at some points. So that was last week's game was a huge reason to bet Lions early. I've beaten line movement every week in the CFL. Of course, now this week, things are kind of looking to be a little bit even. So I haven't quite beat line movement this week, but it's still early on in the week. And when it comes to this game, I already locked in BC minus 8.5. Edmonton Elks can make North American sports history with a loss in this game. Will be the longest streak of games a team has lost at home in North American sports history. They're currently tied at 20 straight home losses going back to 2019. The last team that Edmonton didn't beat at home was the BC Lions. Of course, that was a much different team back then. But Edmonton's lost by 12 or more in 4 of their 7 losses. Only 2 games against Saskatchewan and then 1 against Hamilton where they didn't lose by double digits. BC already beat Edmonton 22-0 in week 2. BC averaging 25.83 points per game, 15.67 against. Edmonton's averaging 15 points a game on offense, 26.43 against. My view in this game, Edmonton may get a couple field goals. BC's not going to shut them out again. They're not going to shut them out again. Edmonton will get some field goals. They may get 1 touchdown, but I took Edmonton team total under 16.5 for minus 110. I don't see the Edmonton Elks scoring 17 points. And then, as I said, I took BC Lions minus 8.5 in this game. TK will go to you first in this one. Oh, and then, of course, the quarterback. It hasn't been announced unless it's been announced while the show's been on. It is going to be announced sometime today or tomorrow who will be starting in this game for BC, either Vernon Adams Jr. or Dane Evans. For me, it I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but BC covers the 8.5. It doesn't matter to me which quarterback starts. I like BC to cover the spread, and I don't think the team total under for Edmonton will be changed on who's at quarterback either. TK, Lions, Elks. What do you think on this one?
Yeah, it seems like a broken record when it comes to Edmonton and a home game of them trying to get a win. It just doesn't happen for them. They just can't do it. I mean, they're last and if they're not last, they're close to last in just about every statistic there possibly is. But the one thing that I just want to mention is they are almost dead last when it comes to penalty yardage. They almost have 600 total yards of they've accumulated this season in penalties. That's just ridiculous. They're the most undisciplined team in the league. Hamilton's not far behind them. If not, they may have passed them. But both of them are really bad. But the Elks, they have some serious problems. And until Trey Ford comes in, I say this every week. I tweet it out every week. I think it's a broken record. Until I see Trey Ford and until Chris Jones is not with a headset on, I cannot trust this team to do anything. I've tried it a couple of times this season and I failed miserably. So I refuse to do it. And at this point, I think that they've packed it in for the season. They can't do it. If they do win a game, I think it's going to be on the road. But I definitely don't think it's going to be here at all. And to me, I think BC went out and they got Dane Evans for a reason. He's been a starter in the league. He's been to the Grey Cup. He's got that experience to get the job done. Of course, he's no Vernon Adams, and we know that, but he can still get the job done. And I don't think it's going to take very much to be able to get the job done against this Elks team. So I'm going to go with BC -8. They are the best defense in the league, in my opinion. I think that Ryan Phillips, their defensive coordinator, takes a big amount of pride in that. And it shows every single week. And they tried their best to keep Saskatchewan from scoring a touchdown last week. That's how much pride they have in their defense. So I don't think it's a shutout, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again. But I do think that they're going to take good pride as far as playing good, sound defense and just get out of there with a nice, comfortable win and get ready for next week. So I'm going to go with BC -8, and I'm on the under 43 as well.
All right. Any interest in the Edmonton team total under 16.5?
I might
Or is it too low
add
of a
that
number?
one. Yeah, I might add that one a little bit later. I'm going to think about it, but who knows? I'll probably end up adding that one.
Nick, what do you think here? Oh, one thing I wanted to mention too that I forgot to mention in my breakdown. BC has won the last 5 meetings between the two teams, all by 17 or more points. So we have yet to see a close game between these two teams in years. Nick, Lions, Elks, what do you think here?
Yeah, I think the best play in this game is the under 43. I've already bet that. And I did take a stab at the Lions team total under 26.5. And the more and more I look at this game, and once again, look at me being unpopular, TK is going to try to call the Toronto's first loss. I'm going to try to call Edmonton's first win here. And hear me out on this one. I know this sounds crazy. Hear me out, though. This is a dangerous game for the BC Lions. They get a very bad opponent, which could easily be overlooked, especially considering that next week they get to face against the Blue Bombers. So this could be an easy look-ahead spot for them here. Also, we're trying to consider that Edmonton, we're talking about potentially them breaking history here, losing history, bad history. Everybody else is saying it. You know who's hearing it? It's the Edmonton Elks. If we're going to get a full-on effort here, if there's ever an opportunity where we're going to get an A-plus effort from the Elks and maybe not so much from the Lions, it's this game when it's a big look-ahead spot for the Lions. And this is a game where maybe Edmonton rallies around, we don't want this record. Maybe that's all they're hearing in the media right now. and we can potentially see that. Also, who's going to be at quarterback for the BC Lions? And I know you said it doesn't matter, but is it going to be Vernon Adams? And if it's Vernon Adams, is he 100%? I could see them either it's Vernon Adams or it's Dean Evans, and they run a very conservative game plan. And I could see this game being 17-10. Like, I can see this being a very low-scoring game where BC is focusing on just trying to get in, get out, stay healthy for Winnipeg next week, and just win the game. I've already got the Lions team total under 26.5. I got the full game under 43. I'm tempted with the Edmonton plus the points here. The line's gone from a 9 to an 8. So the market's kind of saying that maybe Edmonton, maybe this is a closer game. This is a dangerous game for the BC Lions rather than this is a good spot for the Elks, because can easily be a game where BC can care less about blowing out the Elks in this game because they have a much more important matchup with Winnipeg next week. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at this game. I haven't bet the Elks yet. I haven't. I do want to see what the quarterback news is for the BC Lions, and maybe if I get double digits, I'll take a stab with the Elks. But I mean, I'm going to take a look at it. I don't know if I'm betting it or not. I think this is a dangerous, dangerous game for the BC Lions.
All right. Of course, I completely disagree with you, but that's usual.
And I fully, yeah.
Oh, I think Nick froze.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're frozen my screen. Now you're good. But yeah, well, I do want to mention one thing that you said about Edmonton being motivated in this game. I think their game against Saskatchewan and especially their game against Hamilton when they were at home, those were the two games where they thought that they had a chance to win. I feel like Edmonton knows they're not beating BC. I think even if BC comes out here in the first half and they are looking ahead to next week, Edmonton just doesn't have the offense to beat BC's defense. And I think if for some reason they do come out slow in the first half, they'll get it together in the second half and cash. That's my opinion on that one.
Yeah, so maybe if you're looking at Edmonton, you cut the game down, you grab 4.5 first half, maybe. Because we've seen this before. We saw this with the Argos. They were down 1 point at halftime, and then the Argos blew them out in the second half. They were close with Hamilton at halftime. Or no, they were leading against Hamilton at halftime, I want to say. Or they were close. And then they got blown out in the second half. We've seen this before where the Elks show up for the first half and then just fall apart in the second half. So first half could be a decent look with the Elks.
Yeah, it's not a bad look. You know, even if you look back to last week against Sasky, you know, I know Vernon Adams went out, but still, you know, they covered that first half. So BC is a better second half team, I guess you could say, if you were really looking at the Elks. Maybe the first half, maybe. I'm
gonna write that down. I might get to that first half.
And I think if you want the Elks, you should wait. If you want the Elks full game, like you were talking about, Nick,
yeah,
you should wait because I think this line's going to move potentially drastically if we get news.
Before we go to I absolutely think this will hit double digits before it hits a 7.
Before we get to TK's breakdown in this game, Daryl Turner says opinions on the Red Black under. Nick and I are both on the over. TK is on the under. If you want the breakdown, you can rewind the video. We broke that game down already. So if you want breakdowns on that, just rewind the video and go back to the beginning. TK, Lions, Elks, or no, actually, we already went.
Yeah, we did this one.
Yeah, okay. My bad. We'll go to the final game on the slate here between Calgary and Montreal. And I will bring it up here. Stampeders, you can get them anywhere from plus 114 to plus 130. Montreal, minus 137 to minus 150. 2.5s. I do see a 3 there at Bet365. 47, 47.5s, and then 48 at Bet365. So Bet365 is kind of being the odd man out here when it comes to the lines for this game between these two teams. And for me, this is my pass game of the slate. Calgary, a team I faded last week, a team I'm looking to fade, but I think this is a spot that Calgary could win this game. I think they're a live dog, and I think if there is a dog that wins this week, I think it is the Calgary Stampeders. Obviously, they're not a huge dog at minus 130, but they are a road dog. I'm seeing that +3. If this game goes to +3, if I see a +3.5 with Calgary, uh, then I'm going to be taking that because I don't think +3.5. I think +3.5 is a great bet with them, especially on the road because they really struggle at home. So getting a +3.5 with them on the road against Montreal, I will take that. While it's at +2.5 and +3, I'm going to stay off. And then the total, I'm going to stay off. These are two teams that I'm looking to fade more than to back. And this just doesn't seem like the best spot for me at this point in time. We'll go to Nick next. Stampeders, Alouettes. Do you think the Stampeders bounce back after last week, or do you think Montreal wins after their bye week? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had this game priced more towards a pick'em, so I do see a little bit of value here with Calgary. I lean towards the Calgary side in this one. I'm seeing a 3 on Bet Online that I'm tempted to bet, and then +125 money line, which I'm tempted to take a small stab at as well. I've only bet the over 47.5 so far for this game. One thing we've noticed with Calgary the last 2 weeks is I think that Jake Mayer and that offense finally found something. They put up 33 points against Saskatchewan and 41 against a Ottawa defense, which that defense has really been carrying the Ottawa Red Blacks this year. I could see, and they put up 41 points against them there, and they almost covered that game. I know it was looking very bad for most of the game, but they had an opportunity with a stop in overtime to cover that spread. Unfortunately, just wasn't able to get it done. But I like Calgary a little bit in this game, getting the points. I think this is a bet on team going forward rather than a bet against, especially when they start to figure it out on offense here with Jake Meyer. The defense is a huge question mark for me. We saw Ottawa. Granted, the defense was put in very terrible situations because of turnovers by Jake Meyer and that offense. But their defense did look a little bit leaky, and I could see Montreal having a decent game plan for this Calgary defense out of the bye week for them. So I have already played the over 47.5 in this game. I think this is a higher scoring matchup. I think maybe if you don't trust Calgary to win this game or cover the spread, I would definitely look at their team total. Currently, BetOnline's not offering one. Maybe that's saying that they're kind of worried about people betting the over or whatever. But I'm seeing 22.5 for a Calgary team total. I'm definitely interested in that when it is available to me. So I'll probably be looking at that. I don't know if I'm going to get to the +3 in the money line, a little bit of Calgary here, but I'm definitely not interested in the Alouettes laying points here. One thing we've noticed with the Alouettes is since they had their nice 2-0 start, they've lost 3 games when they played legitimate teams. I'm not saying Calgary's a legitimate team, but they're better than the 2 teams that they beat, that Montreal beat the first 2 weeks, which was Ottawa and Hamilton. So I do think that this Calgary team can get the win in this game. They are a live dog in this game. But I like the over more.
All right. TK, Stampeders, Alouettes. What do you think in this one?
Yeah, I agree. I like Calgary here. The problem that I see with Montreal, I know they're coming off the bye, but I'm going to need to see it first before I believe it. And that is their offensive line. They are dead last in the league as far as sacks allowed. And that's been the problem. And it's really, really interesting to see Cody Fajardo go from Saskatchewan last year where that was a problem, and he's back in the same problem now in Montreal. Calgary is third in the league as far as getting pressure on the quarterback and getting sacks. So I think that's where the advantage is here in the game. I know that we've talked about, Calgary's defense being Swiss cheese at times, but if they can get to the quarterback, and I think they will, that's going to put a huge problem as far as on Montreal's offense. In my opinion, as far as Montreal, it should be stand back left, stand back middle, and stand back right. And they don't do that. And they don't involve him in the game enough. And until Jason Moss figures that out and gets it going and stops having on 1st and 10, Fajardo drop back to pass, they're going to continue to have this problem, I think. So, Jake Mayer, he can show up at times. And I know he had a rough first half last week against Ottawa, but he played pretty well the second half, and good enough to win, in my opinion. I think that they know that. I think they know the issues that they had and why they lost that game last week against Ottawa. And I think they'll fix that. I think this is a good spot for them to play a team that's coming off of a bye that they know that they have the advantage as far as in the trenches there with their defensive line. And I think that they'll get pressure on the quarterback and make it tough for Fajardo. So I'm going to go with the Stamps first half on the money line, also the +1, and I'm going to take them full game as well. I got +3 at -125 and the money line at 130. So Stamps first half and full game for me.
All right. I did see Daryl's comment here. If you had to pick 2 consensus potential faves to win and 2 consensus potential dogs, the issue is that we're not going to, the 3 of us, the only game we kind of agree here is Calgary, like for consensus, like for agreement. But the only dog that I think could win this week is Calgary. I like the other 3 favorites myself. But yeah, the only game we kind of agree on a side, I think, is Calgary. It seems
Yep.
to be in this one. But to end off the show, we'll get to bookkeeping here. I have my first 5-star play of the season in the CFL. If you want my 5 premium plays, I have given out a few of them here. If you want to know which play is my 5-star, I have doubled my unit size on that game. And then I also have a premium play that I did not give out on the show. You can get those 5 picks at picksandparlays.net. The link will be in the description below, and you can get that package. If at least 3 of the 5 don't win, you get your money back. So there's a guarantee on that as well. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Let's Go Wild Picks. Nick, tell people where they can get your plays and where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, me and my brother were on Picks and Parlays, EarlSportsBets.com. If you're looking at that, I'm also solo on Capit as well. The link to that's in all of my videos. Mine are $6 a day or $6.99 a day over on Capit. So if you're interested in my plays personally, you can find me there. And Earl Sports Bet Show. You guys know where to find that.
Yeah, TK, where can people find you if they want to find your place?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's _ Mr. TK __. My plays are all posted there for free. So try to get them out as early as I can and posted there. So and my plays are posted there now, so you can go and check those out.
All right, perfect. That finishes up the show. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button on your way out. Next week we'll be on at 3 p.m. So right around this time next Tuesday, and we'll have a 4th guest joining us. So make sure to tune into that show. But best of luck, everyone, on your bets in the CFL this week. Let's all make some money, and we will see you again. Thanks, guys. If my mouse will work, sorry.